In this video, we are going to continue our work with equations, and we are going to be writing and solving equations that have addition or subtraction. Let's get started. All right, so I'm looking at this situation here. George had some plastic figures. We don't know how many, we know he had some. Let's call that X. After he bought 7 more figures, he had 25. How many plastic figures did George have before he bought more? So, let's take a look at what this is actually saying. He had a starting point of what he started with, and we know that that was X. And then he bought 7 more. So we know that he's going to add more, and that was 7. And then at the end, he had a total of 25. So we have an equation here, x plus 7 equals 25. So we need to think about what number plus 7 equals 25. Now to do that, we are going to use what is called an inverse operation. And that is basically going to mean in order to undo what was done, we're going to use the inverse or the opposite. So for instance, here, since we were adding 7 to something, we are going to do the opposite to undo that. To get back to where we started, the opposite would be to subtract. Now, if we remember our properties of equality, if I subtract the 7 off of one side, I also have to subtract the 7 off of the other side to keep things balanced. So on the right side, if I added 7 and then subtracted 7, that's just going to cancel out. So I'm only left with my variable x. And then 25 minus 7 is going to give us 18. So how many plastic figures did George have before he bought more? He had 18 figures. We found the solution for our variable by using what we call inverse operations or the opposite. The opposite of addition is subtraction. Since we added 7 to our starting point of x, we're going to undo that by subtracting. All right, let's look at another. Cabrini had some markers. After she bought 12 more, she had 16. How many markers did Cabrini have at the start? Let M represent the number of markers Cabrini had at the start. All right, so our starting point here, as it says, is N. And then she bought 12 more. So N plus 12 more, and that's going to equal our total of 16. Now, I had a starting point. I added 12. In order to undo that, I'm going to subtract 12. If I subtracted 12 off of my left side, I also have to subtract 12 off of the right side. The 12 minus 12 cancels out. I am left with N. 16 minus 12, I started with 4 figures. I can also go back and check. Does 4 plus 12 equal 16? You bet. So that does check out. That's the cool thing about solving equations is you can always check if you were right by substituting back in. All right, let's keep moving. Clive is 19 years younger than Josh, and he is 34. Write and solve a subtraction equation to find Josh's age or y. All right. So we know that Josh's age is y. And Clive is 19 years younger. So if he's younger, that means he's going to be minus 19 from Josh. So we start with Josh's age. We took away 19 because he's 19 younger. And then we know that he is 34. So start at Josh's age minus 19, and then you'll get Clive's age of 34. Now, since we subtracted 19 from our original starting point, in order to undo that, we're going to add 19. And if I added 19 on the left side to keep things balanced, we're going to add 19 on the right side, or else I'd be topsy-turvy. All right, minus 19 plus 19, that's going to cancel out. We're just left with our variable. 34 plus 19 would be 53. So Josh's age would be 53. Now let's go back in and check. Does 53 minus 19 equal 34? And it does. So that checks. All right. Andy had some baseball cards. Let's call that X. After he bought 12 more, so we started with X, bought 12 more, he had 48. How many cards did Andy have at the start? So in this case, since we added 12 to our starting point of X, we started with X, we bought 12 more. To cancel that out to get what X is, we're going to subtract 12. Now, if I subtracted 12 on the left side, I also need to subtract 12 on the right side, or I'm going to be topsy-turvy. 48 minus 12 would be 36. All right, now let's check if that is correct. Is 36 plus 12 in fact 48? And it is, so that checks. All right. So that is going to do it for now. You guys will do your think, pair, share together. And then we will do a Kahoot and then your Savvis. So for now, we are going to stop and we will talk soon. All right. Bye, guys.